Hi, it's Anthony Hill from Over 40 Health and Fitness. Sometimes in life we don't know where something's going to lead us until it actually happens. My business partner in Over 40 Health and Fitness, Mark, him and I used to be flatmates in Bondi Beach back in the 90s. In those days, I worked in the bottle shop most afternoons and I'd normally start about 3 p.m. But in the mornings, for a period of time, I worked in recycling. So what that meant is I had to get up at 3:30, have brekkie, and then ride my bike, my push bike, from Bondi up to Bondi Junction and then through Centennial Park to Alexandria. It'd take me about an hour or so to get there in the dark. I normally get there just a bit before 5. So if I was lucky, I'd get a run for the day. If I wasn't lucky, I'd get back on my bike and ride back to Bondi. It didn't pay a ton of money. It was a pretty tough job, but it was quite rewarding in its own way. It was very physical, but I got to see a lot of Sydney. The trucks had run through different parts. Sometimes it'd be in the eastern suburbs, sometimes the western suburbs, sometimes it'd be around Point Piper and Dover Heights, and some of those beautiful areas around the harbour, and many other parts of Sydney as well. Anyway, I did it for quite a while, for quite a few months. And the more often I went there and did a good job, the manager would tend to give the guys with a good work ethic a run each time. So I got in a bit of a group, and I'd often get a run. So it was a tough job, but in its own way, I didn't mind it. Anyway, this one particular day, I was out around Bankstown, in the Bankstown area. I was on the back of the paper truck. So if you can imagine like a garbage truck situation where you've got one guy, I don't know how it is nowadays with OH&S, it's a bit different, this was in the late 90s. But I was on one corner of the truck and there was another guy on the other corner of the truck, and I was hanging on to the rail. And we were going up and down the side streets, picking up the paper, dumping. The paper used to be in these big buckets. There's not a lot of newspapers around now, so I don't know if they still have it like it used to be. But we used to pick up all the newspapers in these buckets, we'd dump it into the compactor, press the button, the big steel lip would come over, pick up the paper and suck it into the truck. And in between streets, when we were on the truck, we just pull the lip so it'd go back into the truck and there'd be like a vacant space where the compactor thing was. So anyway, we're on the back of the truck, and the truck driver said, okay, we're gonna move on to a bit of expressway. It's sort of an 80k zone till we get to the next area where we're gonna pick up more papers. So I was on the back of the truck. I was on one corner of the truck, so the other guy was on the other corner, and we're cruising along in the left-hand lane. There were 2 lanes. We're in the left-hand lane, and then we're doing probably around 80 k's an hour, I guess. And then the truck driver, I couldn't see what was ahead, so I was on the back of the truck and I was just edging my head around the side like I normally would. All you can really hear when the truck's doing 80 k's an hour is the wind. So I'm looking around the truck as we're going. He puts the indicator on to pull out, probably to go around another car, I don't know. But that's what, as we were pulling into the right-hand lane, I'm not even sure why, but I quickly just looked behind me. As we were pulling into the right-hand lane, I quickly looked behind me, and as I looked behind me, there was a white, I remember it, I'll always remember it, there was a white VP Commodore wagon screaming up behind us, and it mustn't have known that we were about to pull into the right-hand lane. So it was going so fast, and we were about to pull in we were pulling into the right-hand lane, and it was planning on coming up behind us, going around us on the right-hand side and sweeping past. But all of a sudden, the truck driver pulls into the right-hand lane, and this white Commodore had nowhere to go. So this all happened in a split second. As I looked behind me and I noticed this white Commodore wagon come up behind us, it was about to crash into the corner of the truck where I was. So all in a heartbeat, I managed to jump into the compactor section, which was empty, and the car smashed into the back of the truck, right where I had been standing. So it would have crushed my legs, so I would have perhaps lost my legs, or worse, if I had been still standing there. So the truck driver pulled over, and this car was completely totaled at the front, hitting the back of a big solid steel garbage truck. And I was pretty shaken up, and I got out, and I can't even remember what the guy in the car said, But anyway, in an incident like this, we have to go straight back to the depot, which we did. And I remember getting on my bike and riding back to Bondi and thinking, what could have happened. And I decided by the time I got back to Bondi, I'm never going back there again. I didn't particularly like the job. It didn't pay a lot of money. But there's one thing that it made me do. I'd been thinking about this idea of setting up Bondi Beach Skateboarding Associating. I'd been riding these long skateboards. I did talk about that in another video, but I've been riding these long skateboards for quite a while, and I wanted to set up Bondi Beach Skateboarding Association, and I wanted to print up a bunch of shirts and sell them at the local surf shops, but I just sort of hadn't got around to it. So after this, I decided, I'm not going to go back there. I'm going to set this business up. So I had about $1,200 in my bank account. I spent $1,000 and bought as many plain white t-shirts as I could get. My old flatmate before, Mark, was an animator for Walt Disney. He drew a picture for a case of beer. He used to work at a bottle shop, so I got cheap alcohol. For a case of beer, he drew a picture of me on a skateboard. We put a little bit of artwork on there around the side of the picture. Bondi Beach Skateboarding Association. So for about $1,200, I bought a bunch of shirts, about 200 and something shirts, and the other $200, I got all the printing done on the t-shirts, and I started selling all these shirts in the local surf shops around Bondi, plus in the bottle shop that I worked at. I sold a few shirts. I ended up selling all those shirts over about a year or so, and I gave a bunch of the shirts out to my mates as well. No, I didn't make a ton of money out of it, but every now and then I'd see one of my mates or someone that had bought a shirt in one of the local surf shops wearing one of these shirts around Bondi, and every time I saw one, I always felt good about it. So it was one of those experiences. I'd been thinking about this for months and I didn't do anything about it. And then when I had that near miss on the garbage truck that day, I went home and I thought, what the hell, I might as well start this up. I've been thinking about it, and I didn't want to get back into another second job at the same time while I was working at the bottle shop. So I made those shirts up, and it was a great experience. It was one of those experiences that I won't forget. It wasn't a life-changing experience, and I didn't make a lot of money out of it. But that's what Over 40 Health and Fitness is about. It's about achieving experiences while you're pushing for your goals and you're trying to do things with your life. Those experiences along the way that are part of the journey, make up the life that you're living. And sometimes you can look back favourably on those things. So I'm actually wearing one of the t-shirts that I made up. This is the print. I don't know if you can see it all right, like that. But I've only got a couple of these shirts left, and I do wear them from time to time because I sold most of them and gave the rest of them away. But it's one of those things I'll never forget. Over40healthfitness.com